Warriors, I welcome you to another powerful video on my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet to my channel, please go ahead and do that now as well. If you want to learn more about any of my anxiety recovery programs, head on over here. And today is about updating the ideas that are connected to the anxiety symptoms that you are experiencing. Because, my friends, these are the kinds of realizations, the ones that I'm going to present to you today. These are the kinds of realizations that take you away from a place of being fixated on your physical body and into a place of inner peace, into a place where you work with the anxiety symptom, where you work with the body, rather than look to run away from the anxiety symptom or fight back against the anxiety symptom. Let's get into realization number one. Your inner child's goal is to convince you that you are the body and keep you obsessed with the body. We talk about inner child. When we talk about inner child, we're talking about things like memory. We're talking about things like past traumas, emotional traumas. They don't have to be physical traumas, emotional traumas. When we talk about inner child, we're talking about protection. We're talking about a part of you, a very strong part of you that wants to keep you protected from anything new and wants to move you towards a place of familiarity, because within that familiarity lies the protection that the inner child wants for your life. Okay? So as we go through the day, we have to make sure that we understand that when our focus and energy becomes fixated on the body or on a particular anxiety symptom, that sort of guidance is coming from the inner child. Okay? And as long as we continue to follow the guidance of the inner child, we will live a life that feels stuck. Okay? It's almost like you're stuck in this bubble and you can't seem to escape the bubble. There's a little bit of room here and a little bit of room there, but anything that is outside of that bubble will create more tension in the body, and the inner child will recognize this and say, no, we're not going there. That's why we have to understand that along the healing journey, things can get a lot worse before they get better. When they get worse, it's up to you to interpret that anxiety symptom or the body getting worse as a sign of making progress. Okay? Because if we become frightened by the anxiety symptoms or the body getting worse, okay, then we will be pulled back into that bubble. Okay, we want to escape the bubble. We want to escape the inner child-centered prison. Okay, we want to live our lives where we are no longer fixated on the body. Okay, protecting the body from anything and everything. Because it's when we leave the body alone, genuinely, that the body finds optimal health. Okay, this is very, very important as a realization. Number two, traveling symptoms. We all experience these symptoms that tend to travel from one part of the body to the other. Traveling symptoms is common due to the lack of exploring and healing the memory and or emotion that accompanies the symptoms. This is so vital. When you think about anxiety symptoms, I want you to think about memory. When you think about anxiety symptoms, I want you to think about emotions that are connected to that symptom. When you think about anxiety symptoms, I want you to think about mental patterns, things that you haven't let go of from the past and things that you are regretting that you may do in the future. When you think about anxiety symptoms from this angle, you are no longer taken down that road that says, there may be ill health in my future, or there may be ill health in my present time. Okay, because again, that's what the inner child wants, to make you feel protected by anything that's outside of the bubble. Okay? So when you think about anxiety symptoms, what has to show up at the same time is, what sort of pattern am I running? Mental pattern. What sort of emotion is still in my body, in that part of my body that is not resolved? What sort of memory am I still consciously and unconsciously holding on to that's connected to this anxiety symptom? If you start thinking about your anxiety symptoms from these angles and these perspectives, I promise you it will take you down the path to a deeper place. No longer is the body everything. Realization number 3. Your anxiety symptoms are present as a personal challenge to liberate yourself from the inner child-centered prison. This is huge. When the anxiety symptom shows up, your reaction is no longer, why me? Your anxiety symptoms mustn't give you a reason to go down that path towards victimhood ever again. Your anxiety symptoms are a reflection of the path that you are on to liberate yourself from the inner child-centered prison. This is it. This is it. So when the anxiety symptom shows up, you're going, thank you for the blessing. This is a blessing. Something is causing the anxiety symptoms, something that is unresolved, some chain of events that I haven't let go of yet, some kind of unforgiveness towards myself and others. And so, what is our purpose? A lot of people ask me, Dennis, what's our purpose? Our purpose in this lifetime, in this life experience, is to liberate ourselves from the ego/inner child-centered prison. Because it is within that prison that we feel stuck, in the bubble. But when we start to move away from the bubble, and I'm talking about not only behaviors, okay, not only things that you do, okay, I'm talking about liberating yourself from that bubble in ways of thinking about things, in how to perceive things, in ways of new perspectives. For example, with anxiety, things can get very, very tense. And that tension is more so imaginative than in reality, right? So we have to understand that moving out of that bubble is different ways of perceiving, different ways of thinking. Yes, different actions, different ways of imagining things that are going to show up in the future, right? A lot of times when you step out of that bubble, that ego-centered prison or inner child-centered prison, it feels very uncomfortable. And you realize that everything has to change. Everything. Your whole way of living has to change. And this is very important, you no longer associate yourself with your name. Because when I think about Dennis sometimes, I think about someone who used to struggle. I think about someone who is addicted to suffering. I think about someone who was always fighting for things that they wanted. Someone who wasn't worthy of positive things that they wanted to manifest in their lives. When you think about Eric and Jody and Tracy and whoever you may be, you have to understand that you are no longer that name. You are no longer all the associations that come with that name. Right? We are creating a brand new you by tapping back into that childlike side of us that we forgot along the way. Okay? This is important. Okay? Your symptoms Your anxiety symptoms mustn't define you. They mustn't define you. Your courageous and relentless approach to your inner healing must define you. How do you define yourself? Do you define yourself by your suffering? Do you define yourself by the health of your physical body? Do you define yourself by whether an anxiety symptom shows up or not throughout the day? Or do you define yourself by the courage that you have to take on this journey? Because so many people will never take on this journey. Do you define yourself by the inner work that you're doing? Do you define yourself by being the true warrior that you are? Not only taking on these present challenges courageously, but realizing that whatever shows up in your future, anxiety symptom or otherwise, you are ready for that challenge. You are now equipping yourself with the spear and the shield that will become your new identity. And this is what we must embrace. This is the direction that you're going, my friends. So, when it comes down to your anxiety symptoms, it's time to go beyond the perspectives that are brought forward by your own inner child. And if you can do this regularly, if you can see beyond those old perspectives and just start becoming open to the new ones, you are in a world of creation. And you are no longer replaying the same ideas, beliefs, and identities from the past. You can do this. If anybody else can do this, so can you, my friends. No one is more special or more gifted than you are. Understand that. Stay on the path. Don't get distracted, and I promise you, you will become more than anxiety. I love you from the bottom of my heart. Have a wonderful day because you deserve it. Bye-bye.